Okay, sweet woman. Here we go. This is just for you. So this is for helping your back after lifting the heavy pot and feeling lower back pain in your low right side. I'm thinking that's probably like about your facet joint on your lumbar 5. What we're going to do is we're going to try to open up and decompress your back and give you some things that will strengthen your core. We're going to start off on the hands and knees, and what you'll do is you'll round your back like an angry cat, as angry as you can go. Drive your lumbar 5 spine. Your lumbar 5 is a segment of your vertebrae just above your sacrum. So drive that up to the ceiling, keep it up to the ceiling as you rock back slowly. That'll decompress your spine. Then release as you come forward. Round, rock back, keep it rounded, and then release as you come forward. I want you to move slow, because if you move too fast and you get into a danger zone, you won't have a chance to stop or change directions. If you go slow enough, your body is listening and can slow you down or stop you if you get into a pain area. So do that about 5 times. That's called flushing. Notice how my toes are underneath me. And then I'm going to come over to the diagonal, put my hands over to this diagonal, and I'm going to rock back. I don't have to round my back when I rock back at the diagonal. That's going to get the side of your torso 4 or 5 times. It feels really good. And then you switch sides, rock back, and it's getting this whole flank. Let your head relax. About 5 reps. Then what we're going to do is we're going to turn around on the back. And we're going to go ahead and do hands into the knees, and we're just going to circle the knees. Now, when your knees come up to your chest, that should open and decompress your back. You can do a few in that direction and then a few in the other direction. Go slow, listen to your body. If you're really hurting, then when you come up, really go slow. When I wake up in the morning because of my broken back, I have to go really slow here. But after a few passes, it heats up, lubricates, and feels better. Okay, then what we're going to do is we're going to go into a drive my L5, so that's the vertebrae just above the sacrum. I'm going to drive that into the ground and then release. I drive that into the ground. So that's also, I cue that as a pelvic tilt. But if I drive that into the ground, my whole belly tightens up, my rib cage drops, and then release. Drive that L5 vertebrae into the ground, through the ground, push out all the air, and then release. It's nicer if you have your head up. Drive your spine into the ground, your hips are tucking, drive your rib cage down. This is flexing all of your core, your front core muscles, and release. We'll do 5 of them. Drive that L5 into the ground, drive that rib cage down. Feel what you're feeling your core tighten, and then release. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna go up into a bridge. Your feet are medium stance. I go up to what feels comfortable. If that hurts you, don't go up that high, or don't do it at all if it hurts, if it's pinching. Then when I come down, a normal bridge would just be tapping the buttons down. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to drive that L5 into the ground. Lead with that L5. Don't let the sacrum touch the ground. Don't let the tailbone touch. And that will tighten up your belly, and then come back up into a normal bridge. Lead with the L5. Let the L5 vertebrae touch the ground. Don't let the sacrum touch. It flexes all those muscles, and then come on up. We're going to do that 3 more times. Drive with that L5 down. Don't let the sacrum touch. Keep the tailbone up and under, and then release. So what this is doing is this is engaging your core. This is getting the connection from your brain to those muscles. Strengthening that core while you're decompressing and gapping, making a gap in those bones to give you some decompression. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to come back up and we're going to flush it out. We're going to flush with the knees. Now when I flush with my knees together, it gives you a little bit more back decompression. If I wanted to relieve my hips, I would flush separately. Now often if you have a tight back, you might have tight hips. So I would like you to do both of these. So one time we flush with your knees together. The next time flush with them independently. Okay, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a little bit harder. I'm progressing you up from easy, which is drive down, to the hip bridge, drive down, to now even adding more weight to the core by lifting the knees. My knees are over the hips, not over my chest. And then I'm going to drive that lumbar spine down to the ground, that L5 vertebrae right above the sacrum. Can you hear my voice? That's my abs flexing. And then then release. Drive down, and then release. Drive down, and then release. And again, drive down, push that rib cage down, feel the muscles, make that connection. When you have sensation, the brain is making a good neural connection, and release. Okay, I'm gonna circle. Now that is one dimension. We usually do things in 3 dimensions. So if you feel comfortable, what you can do is we can go on to the next dimension there. Let me see what the next thing was. Okay, the next dimension is going to be lateral pivot. So I'm going right hip to right ear, left hip to left ear, right hip to right ear, left hip to left ear. Then I've got rotational direction. So that's right hip to the ceiling, left hip to the ceiling. I'm going to do more thorough explanation of this movement in another video, but for you for right now, to give you some relief, I want to teach you this. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, so I practice the lateral pivot with my feet down so I can get the action, so I can make the connection. Then I'm going to also practice the rotational, one hip up, other hip up. Then I'm going to bring my knees up. Now I've added weight to my pelvis, which adds weight to the spine, which makes the core have to work harder. I'm going to go lateral swivel. Now if your facet joint, that little area that I think got irritated from lifting the pot, is irritated, sometimes going lateral can make it get upset. Sometimes it will bite a little bit in the first 1 or 2, and then it will go away. If it continues to bite or get worse, definitely stop. But a lot of times this lubrication and this heating and hydrating makes it feel better. So now my little obliques and the sides of my core are having to work hard. Now I'm going to go right hip up, left hip up. This is much harder, because now the weight of my legs are being lifted by my belly. Notice I'm not wagging my legs. I'm just driving my thighs straight up and straight up. So this is harder than even the pelvic tilt. So let me recap real quick. That last exercise on your list is called hip tucks. Hip tucks in the first plane is drive that L5 through the ground. We do 5 reps. Hold it down, release. Hold it down, 1, 2, release. Hold it down, 1, 2, release. Last one, hold it down, 1, 2, release. You can stop and rest if you need to. If you can go on, lateral pivot. Do not throw this, move it. Shorten the side of your spine, shorten the side of your body. Shorten, bring your rib cage to your hip. 3 and 2. It's really easy to throw this one, don't throw this one. Now the third direction is 1 hip up, other hip up. Try not to throw this, just move it. I think this one is the hardest one of the 3. Also notice if it's harder to get 1 hip higher than the other. For most people it is, and then you really want to think about that side so that you're not just throwing that side. Okay, I'm going to flesh it out. So that's a progression of decompressing your back as well as strengthening your core. Now I'm going to go on to a couple stretches that we did. This is called the back butt stretch. And what we're going to do is you're sitting down on a chair, a couch, bench. You cross one foot, hold on, you're going to push here, shoulders down and back, slide the neck back, pull the head long, and then pull. Now when you pull, you should feel it probably back here in your back butt, and when you push, often you'll feel it in the front or also in the back. And we're going to do that about 3 times. This actually is core work, because whenever you're pulling your leg up, your core is getting tugged on, so the core has to resist that. That's called resistance training. And then I'm going to switch sides. Now it's typical to feel one side be tighter than the other. Push and then pull. Good. Listening to the body. When you push, shoulders down and back, slide the neck back, pull the head long. When you drive your head back and you pull your head long, that engages your core as well. Now when I pull, I do the same thing. Shoulders down and back, slide the neck back, pull the head long. And then we'll do 1 more pushing, 1 more pulling. And then I'm going to come down, switch legs. One hand is on the ankle, other hand is on whatever you're sitting on. Take your torso over and then back up. Good, and over. And where I expect you to feel this is the back of that hip. And over, don't go too fast. Give yourself a moment at the bottom, about 5 reps, and I'm gonna turn, I'm gonna go diagonally. I call this seated back butt. This is really good to loosen up the hips. Again, if the hips are tight, often the lower back, go to the other diagonal, or the knees are the first offended. Those are the first parts that are usually offended by tight hips, because those are the joints that are neighboring those tight hips. Okay, switch sides. So I'm holding on to the ankle, holding on to what I'm sitting on, and I'm going over. Like for me, this side is definitely tighter. Good. Going at the speed that feels comfortable to you. Once we establish the dynamic idea, which is moving through the stretch like I'm doing, that creates a flow of energy, a flow of oxygen, heat, nutrients, fluids. And then what I can do if I want on the tight side is after several reps, I can hold the bottom, which is called a static stretch, and that gives the tissue a chance to lengthen. Now I'm going to come up, I'm going to go diagonally in. And so we're going to do about 5 reps a piece. Again, the speed that you go at is up to your comfort, listening to your body, being in your body, being mindful, feeling what it's feeling. When we go too fast, our brain cannot capture the sensation, the reception fast enough to make adjustments if we need to for safety. Good, like that. Okay, that's called seated back butt. Now I'm going to go on to what is a seated hamstring. One leg is up, hands are forward, my toes are coming towards me, and I'm going to slowly rock forward and rock back. Again, we're taking the hamstring into a dynamic action, but we will take it 3-dimensionally as well. Okay, just like that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this to you. This can be done on a bed or a couch. I do it on the couch. After about 4 or 5, I'm going to then rock laterally. I'm staying forward, and then I'm wagging laterally. When you go across this way, it's really significant, and that's a great stretch. Keep the toes towards you. About 5 reps or so or more if you want. Then I'm going to put my outside hand on my outside knee, and I'm going to come down and then back up. Letting the hips turn and come back. If toes are towards you, it's even more significant. Go at the speed that feels comfortable to you. Don't bounce. This should not be a bounce. I'm stopping the action with my own volition. Then I'm going to come across, like to that outside pinky. That is the one that's the hardest. I always do the hardest last so that those tissues are already heated and hydrated a little bit. Okay, we'll switch sides. Lean forward a little bit, toes come towards you. Pinky toe towards you is going to make it even more significant. I'm going to come towards you and then release. I'm trying to keep my back straight. I'm trying not to round the back. But honestly, if you round the back a little bit, you're going to be fine. If you're very flexible, then you're going to have to really keep your forearm intense to get the stretch. It is a misnomer that you have to have a straight knee to get a hamstring stretch. That's not true. You can get a hamstring stretch with a slightly bent knee as well. Go to your comfort zone, but feel the stretch. Good, I'm going laterally. I'm slightly tilted forward at the torso. My toes are coming back towards me. If I pull my pinky toe towards me, it's even more significant. Hand on the knee, reach down and come back up. Toes come towards me. 4, good, and 3. So this is an option for you if putting your leg on the table is not comfortable or on the stairs is not comfortable. Okay, now I'm going to come across to that pinky toe. This is the one that's most significant and most intense. I left it for last, so I'm heated a little bit. My tissues are prepared, that I'm not going to strain them. I'm stopping and moving. I'm not bouncing into it. That's what creates little scar tissue, microadhesions, and that's not going to help you. That's going to hurt you. You are awesome. I'm here to support, here to help.